I'm from a group called Sane Energy Project, and we are sort of a group that really believes in bottom-up organizing and grassroots organizing. But we decided to build a map, and we decided to build an online map of the shale gas infrastructure of New York State. And what we wanted to do is build that as an organizing tool for our movement. We also felt it was really, really important to not have the information be centralized through a centralized source. We didn't want somebody from Buffalo writing to us at Sane Energy in New York City and being like, what can I do to organize? We wanted the people that go to the map and see things that are going on in Buffalo be able to connect directly into the people in Buffalo, because the people in Buffalo know what they need. People in New York City don't know what the people in Buffalo need. So the basis of our map is that it's completely user-friendly, links you directly to the grassroots organizing groups that are working on the issues. So we also decided, like, okay, not everybody's, like, just as they're not into PowerPoints, are really into maps. So we need to come up with, like, a really fun way to sort of market this. And what more things do people like looking at is pictures of other people. Like, we're all addicted to Facebook. We love seeing pictures of our friends and other people. So we developed this campaign called You Are Here, just like a Google Map pin. And what we did is we asked all the groups that were working on the map, and we continue to do this as more people are added into the map, to stand with this big, like, map pin that I made in my puppeteer studio, and stand near your gas infrastructure so people can actually see the real people that are behind the little buttons on the map. I'm going to give you a snapshot of the New York situation and how it's relating to Pennsylvania. So this is just a basic run-through of how the map works. You go to youarehere.nymap.org, and this map opens, and all these little dots will open. How we've broken it down is right in this corner here, there's instructions on how to work it, how to work the map. And over here, these are all different layers that you can turn off and on. So if you want to just say, like, I want to know what all the proposed pipelines are, or I want to know, which is probably really important to folks in Pennsylvania, where is all this storage and support, and where is all this disposal and waste treatment going? Because that's all coming from here in Pennsylvania. So we're totally supporting the drilling right over the border. So how we did is we color-coded it. So if you want to look at compressor stations, all the little yellow dots are all the little compressor stations. So if you want to find out what's going on in the Finger Lakes districts, you click on the dot, and you'll see that a little information box will come up, and that links you tells you, like, that this is about the LPG storage issue that's going on in Seneca Lake. It tells you the history of it, where things are, legally, where things are, like what the community's doing. And then it gives you an email address or a website on where to find out more information to the people that actually live there. So here's a couple of snapshots of our campaign, the You Are Here. This here is the Millennium Pipeline going right into a river where he loves to fish. These are some folks that are working on the Constitution Pipeline. These trees are in danger of being clear-cut. Here's a couple of folks fighting they fought the mini sink compressor station, and now they're fighting a power plant. Here's a couple of folks in Albany that are fighting the frack oil, the bomb trains that are carrying frack crude oil from the Bakken shale. So once we finally started talking to all these folks, we put this all together, and we found what the state actually looked like to the gas industry that we didn't know until we, like, drew all this out. And I remember making just, like, an image of it, and when I finally pulled out, I was like, I wrote to Susie Winkler, who's here. She was one of the folks that from the beginning was working on the map with us. I was just like, oh my God, you guys ready to see this image? And I pulled it away, and I was like, this is really bad. So how they're seeing us is they're seeing the active drilling that's going on here in Pennsylvania that you guys are taking a look at this weekend. So we're taking all the waste up here. They're looking at this Finger Lakes area as the service hub where they're storing all the silica sand and all the rail lines that are bringing all that stuff in to go drill. They're storing anything that they need for the fracking, the drilling to go on over here. They're taking waste up in Niagara, and they're looking at this, or they're pretending to sell this as market when it's actually for exporting. So we took a look at what the flow of gas was like before in the state of New York, and in Pennsylvania too, in the Northeast. And the gas used to actually like come down from Canada and come up from the Gulf states, and everything sort of like flowed in through distribution lines. The flow of gas now, all the pipelines are now being built bi-directional. So this is like this new key term in the gas industry. Like everything can be sent one direction or the other according to like how the compressor stations are built. Sometimes they'll build parallel pipelines going up and down because what they want to do is reverse the flow of it according to who can export it. Because we realized through building this whole map, the whole name of the game is to export all of this. So we're looking here at the Constitution and the NED pipelines, just as an example. So you can see we color-coded them, so you can see they're actually like right smack next to each other. So as we're building all these new pipelines, what needs to come are new compressor stations. So as much as like, you know, people in New York State are like, yay, we banned fracking, everybody, you know, people that really actually know what's going on were like, yeah, okay, they only, you know, quote unquote, may have banned drilling so far just because basically the shale isn't going to be equitable for them to drill. But we're still being fracked because we're still supporting the drilling that's happening here. We're all in this together. So new compressor stations also need new power plants, which is something that Mike has gone into depth in and will with his map presentation coming up. So I'll leave that open for Mike. The Finger Lakes region here is actually supporting the Northeast fracking hub. So they're really looking at this lakes region as a place to store stuff in the empty salt caverns that are going on around the lakes, and also, you know, storing, as I mentioned before, the silica sand. So they really want to use this as like a storage and support to bring down into Pennsylvania. This is a group called People for a Healthy Environment. So they are at the Center for Horseheads, where they're storing a bunch of this stuff. And so these folks here, these good folks, standing on a children's playground, you can see this fence here. There's like a little baseball field back there. Well, this here is the actual storage facility. So any of the toxins or anything like that they have no problem with it being like right next to a kid's playground. The Highland landfill is one of the places that will accept frack drillings from Pennsylvania, and they'll accept frack waste from Pennsylvania, and the way that they get paid per pound to take this stuff, and they'll mix it up with like sawdust, and they'll make it heavier, so it makes it like these guys can't say no. They're running a business. They're like, yeah, we'll take all this. You know, you're going to pay us to take this by weight. Sure, we'll take it. You know, but clearly that's, you know, going into our land, you know, right into our water table and into our rivers. So after it goes into the landfills, you know, leachate is what comes out of those landfills and goes right into our rivers. So the wastewater processing plants, which are also in this region, are producing like a toxic sludge, which they're actually taking and selling to farmers as fertilizer. So these are things that these landfills, which you can see are right on the border of Pennsylvania, are totally supporting the drilling that's going on. This is a farmer that is fighting the toxic sludge. So I just also wanted to tell you about the local situation that we're dealing with in New York City, because it's all connected to everybody since we're all connected together. So these are two of our dear friends that are fighting the Rockaway Pipeline and the Port Ambrose LNG port. So basically, the Port Ambrose LNG port is planning to drill here, ship it through here, frack us up, and basically ship it out for the highest international bidder, because they can liquefy all this gas that they're fracking from here, put it on a boat, which is what's happening in Cove Point, Maryland right now. Okay, you guys know that. I don't know if you guys know about that fight, but that's a pretty hefty fight that's going on. So we're looking at how they're actually thinking about exporting. This is the LNG Port Ambrose facility that is being proposed right now off our coast. The comment deadline is Monday. We're having huge rallies and stuff like that happening in New York City right now. So this is basically they're wanting to drill here and bring it through New York State, the Marcellus shale gas, and load it onto this boat that's like about the size of the Empire State Building and about 11 stories or so tall. And so just a little bit of information about LNG is that it takes all this power to refrigerate this gas because they need to refrigerate it to negative 260 degrees so the gas becomes a liquefied gas. This stuff, I did a little bit of research on it. It's like, the most evil genius from Marvel comic books couldn't even come up with this stuff. It's when it touches water, it explodes. It melts flesh off anything that can possibly go through its path. This stuff is highly, highly dangerous. And they want to put it right off the coast of the beach that I go to. And I don't know if all of you have heard, but the fact that methane is 88 times worse for heat trapping climate change than carbon is. Well, LNG is actually even 40% more heat trapping on top of that. So we're dealing with some pretty dangerous stuff here. And this is all stuff that's coming from here in Pennsylvania. We are trying to appeal to our legislators that this is a terrorist target. There was a group of folks in Yemen that decided that it would be a really good idea to take a hold of the LNG terminal off the coast of Yemen and, basically say, we're gonna blow this up. But, the thing is also the gas industry there is preventing people from getting water. So part of me is like, I can understand their anger, but the fact is that we have 12 million people living in the New York City metropolitan area that I don't want to see get blown up. So these are all the LNG ports that are being proposed in North America. So this is just one huge fight that I'm working on in New York City. This is everything that's going on here in North America. So a lot of this gas that's being drilled here because of all these pipelines that are going bi-directional now, they can ship it, out of Nova Scotia, off Maine, Port Ambrose, which hopefully won't get built, and here's Cove Point here. This is just an up close of this sort of area that we all live in. So Port Ambrose, this is just an image of what one of the LNG tanks look like. So on the bottom floor, there'll be like these hoses that come out and these ships that will come up and fill up here. And when the ships aren't connected to it, these hoses will just be like free blowing all over the place. So there will be no possibility for marine life to exist there, plant life to live there. It will just completely destroy our ocean. If you see, it's in New Jersey and also New York waters. The LNG port was actually proposed in 2011 off the coast of New Jersey, a little bit further down here. And right after Hurricane Irene, Governor Christie vetoed it because the beaches there and the coastal community was so destroyed. If he would have allowed it, it would have been like political suicide for him. So of course we have all these delicious quotes from him saying like, it's the worst thing for our coastal community, it's the worst thing for our security. So we're sort of playing him with Governor Cuomo because they both have veto power over Port Ambrose now. So basically because he vetoed it off the coast of New Jersey, the West Face Capital, who owns Liberty Natural Gas, decided, we'll just go up into Cuomo's territory. Maybe he'll pass it. So they actually ended up in both our territories. So we still have the potential that Governor Christie will veto it, hopefully. Another great thing about I'm being sarcastic, horrible thing about the LNG port is that there's an offshore wind facility that's been proposed. And if the LNG tank gets built, nobody will want to build the offshore wind farm. So we have this potential of building a renewable future for New York, and if we don't have that possibility, we're just totally locked into more fracking and fossil fuel future. This is a new LNG terminal or tanker that's being built off the coast of Australia, owned by Shell. They're actually trying to pump gas in. Well, now they've designed it so they can pump gas in here and actually liquefy it on board. So if you just think of a giant refrigerator liquefying fracked gas in the middle of the ocean, it's just definitely not a pretty picture. So we did a little bit of digging about who Port Ambrose is, and it's owned by this company called West Face Capital, which has a Cayman Islands bank account. So we don't know who any of their investors are because none of the banks in Cayman Islands have to reveal any of their investors, any information about who is in their banks. But we know that West Face Capital owns Liberty Natural Gas, who has two projects. One is Port Ambrose off the coast of New York, which is filing for an import license right now. And we also have Port Meridian off the coast of the UK, which is also filing for an import license. Now, that sounds kind of peculiar. They're both filing for import licenses. However, we know this guy, Roger Whalen, is very clever. He knows that if he gets an import license for Port Ambrose, it's a lot easier than getting an export license. So all he has to do is file for an import license, get that, and flip it to export without public input. That's just how our laws work. They work in Roger Whalen's favor. So if you notice that we're fracking up everything in Pennsylvania, we want to ship it out, and who's paying a lot of money for this natural gas is Europe. So it's perfect. He can just import it to his other facility over here in the UK. They want to frack us up here and then export it. So basically, Liberty Natural Gas can export it to all of the European markets. And they pay 6 times more money for natural gas than the US market pays. Asia pays 10 times more for natural gas than the US pays. So when they tell us that this is for economic independence, and they tell us that this is going to bring the cost of our home heating down, this is a complete proven lie. I mean, this is proof that the name of their whole game, and this isn't just Liberty Natural Gas. This is all these guys, Spectra, Kinder Morgan, all these guys. They're all working in conjunction together to export this out to foreign markets because they'll make more money. So this is just to show you, this is what one of our hearings looks like in New York City. All these people were speaking out against the LNG port. And we do have a really good support for wind right now, so we're really trying to balance this sort of good versus evil. We have LNG or wind, and we also, to point to your earlier criticism of, what are we working towards, that'll be our job as activists to make sure that wind gets built just. We have to work. We're the people that are doing this work. So we're going to have to make sure that whatever we build it right. And we have to examine that stuff. So we're not going to give up on the fight just if we get an offshore wind farm. We're not going to, just give up on that. We have a huge potential for wind here, right off the coast, of the mid-Atlantic. This is just a Mark Jacobson plan. He did a study with a team and he made basically a renewable energy recipe for all 50 states. Not everybody subscribes to Mark Jacobson's plan. I happen to think it's really cool. I like him. I think he makes a lot of sense. For instance, this is just linking in that for his particular recipe for New York State, we need to have 40% of our energy coming from offshore wind if we want to move towards a 100% renewable state. So if we get the LNG facility built, we're pretty much doomed. Renewable energy will create more long-term jobs. The wind farm that's being proposed off the coast of New York will create 40,000 permanent jobs, where when we whittle down what Port Ambrose is going to end up making in the long run, 6 permanent jobs. And all of the production will be taking place in Rhode Island, and will totally screw all of the unions that they've all been trying to romance over the last few years. And also, we have to look at the long-term costs. People are getting sick. Kids are, growing up with disease. We're all getting coughs and all these things. Like if we had renewable energy, we wouldn't have these like long-term health problems. So we really need to like focus on renewables and efficiency and really start working towards like, not only do we want to fight fracking, but we also want to we have to in turn start coming up with solutions too. I just wanted to point out to the energy justice map that Mike is going to talk to you guys about. Our strategy with these mapping things is to start linking all of our maps together. So Mike's been working with Pennsylvania and all over the nation with trying to map certain things the same way that we've been trying to do this in New York State. We have different platforms, but we're all going to somehow geek out and sit in a room one day and like try to figure out how to link all this together so everybody that are activists around this like know what's going on and have a visual for it. Frack Tracker is another group that we're working with. We have a webinar coming up with them in April, and we're going to really start sitting down and talking and like how can we link all these maps and all this information together so everybody that's in the public can actually see what the gas industry is doing behind closed doors. So we love ending our presentation on the way to remind everybody how the industry is seeing us. They're seeing us as active drilling. They're seeing us as waste storage. They're seeing us as a service hub. They're seeing us as a way to export to please their investors on Wall Street. And the way that we want to see our future is where we have an amazing wine region up in the Finger Lakes. We could do tourism, wind, organic farming. We have amazing soil in New York. So that's what we're working towards. And geek out with us if you want. So in our map, I'll go back to the beginning. Susie had mentioned she was one of the builders of this map with us. So we have something where if you know of something that's missing on the map and you want to add to that project, in this little box here, you can click on how to add information to something. Or add a project or something that should be on the map. So we really want this to be a map for all of us. Like we want to be able to hear from everybody and be able to talk to everybody. And as you saw, it's just like, a bunch of regular people behind this project. So, Julie. The question was, how does Hurricane Sandy and the effects that we're still dealing with right off the coast of New York City and New Jersey, how is this project going to affect the people that are still dealing with that situation and cleaning up their homes and trying to get their homes back to normal? And what do future storms mean for this? So these are some of the points that we're bringing up to Governor Cuomo, who's the ultimate decider on this. Our timeline is that tomorrow is the comment deadline to the Maritime Administration and the Coast Guard. And basically, Governor Cuomo has 45 days after the final public hearing to veto the project. If he doesn't say anything, it immediately defaults into approval. So we're gonna make like really big, stinky, crazy rallies in New York City coming up, and we're gonna work with a lot of awesome direct action groups that are interested in making a big stink about this. So. This is, one of our points is that this is all going to create more superstorms. And if there is another superstorm and we have LNG blow up during another Hurricane Sandy, that's totally game over for the Rockaway Peninsula, for our entire shoreline, because it'll just be nothing but series of explosions and floods of explosions.